Welcome everyone. Something a little different this time from the usual FF9 or Vagrant story videos, namely my collection of different models of official Sony PS1 memory cards. I currently have 72 models, which will be presented here in this video by color and also by type or category if you want, but this will be available in an annex video linked in the description. But first, a brief history of what led me to make such a collection. So, before I started to purchase, for the sake of collection, memory cards online, or even here in the Algerian marketplace, by the way, I had a dozen memory cards, among which there were only two genuine Sony ones. And as the concept of my current FF9 challenge places great importance on the use of original hardware, as a reminder, I use the PS1 and the CRT TV for my current challenge, for example, I thought why not start replacing the half dozen third-party PS1 memory cards that I owned by genuine Sony ones. And why not in different colors to differentiate them more easily. And in parallel with all this, I started to be interested in the hardware of the PS1 in general, especially the controllers. I also have a small collection of PS1 controllers, although not as complete as my collection of memory cards, which I will present later in a video in which I will also talk about some specificities of the DualShock 1 SCP-H1200 controller. Then I also became interested in memory cards after discovering some very interesting sites, among which Strifa PS6, or even interesting small collections like the PlayStation 1 memory cards colors released in North America, presented by Good Vibe Collecting, for example. I will leave in the description of the video links to all this and other interesting sources, by the way. So I became interested in these memory cards to the point of specifically creating small folders on my PC, filled with images found online of the different models that I also listed in Excel files. I listed them at the beginning simply by color and type of PCB, which is indicated in part by the raised letter just above the Made in Japan at the back shell. The letter can be S, R, H or no letter, while taking into account the production date which appears in the back sticker, which corresponds more or less to the start of production of the memory card's PCB, it seems. So for example, 0704 indicates that the memory card was produced in the fourth and last quarter of the year 97. So as purchases progressed, my little collection began to grow, and I thought why not collect all the memory cards produced in the US, because my challenge takes into account US hardware as a priority, but the specific models released in the US were especially rare, so I started at the same time collecting the colors of a certain type of PCB that was released in the US, like the R PCB for example. Then at some crucial point, I had more money at my disposal, and I noticed the Japanese lots containing several models of memory cards, and I realized that buying these few lots would allow me to almost reach the number of 50 memory cards possessed from my initial list of 55 or so known models of the PS1 memory cards. So I decided at that moment to buy these lots and to aim for the complete collection. Of course, I had to pay several $100s and a lot more than necessary, because I had to pay like $45 for most models that I bought from the US, because the shipping from the US to Algeria, so not counting the price of the memory card, often cost like $25 or so. Also because I had to buy certain models several times in order to come across one in good condition, I had to buy certain lots of several memory cards that I didn't need just to acquire a specific model. I have so many extra memory cards that I have duplicates of almost all the models in my collection, by the way. And I also had to buy duplicates due to the incompetence of the postal parcel sorting center here in Algiers during the busy period of the beginning of the year, which caused some packages to be so late, up to 3 months, that I thought they were lost. Finishing the collection also took a lot of time because a large part of eBay sellers do not sell internationally by default, and most of them refuse to change their shipping policies when about 1 in 4 times they bother to respond to your requests. Fortunately, thanks to very helpful sellers, I was finally able to finish the collection, so I want to thank sellers like Orange Juicer and especially Yuki, from whom I bought a large part of my memory cards. The postman in my neighborhood also helped me a lot by calling me often when a package was ready to be delivered, and by making sure that a package was never lost. But finally, be aware that if you want to make the same collection, and if you live in Europe, Japan or the US, it will of course cost you a lot less time and money. So here is what looks like a PS1 memory card. Here I unscrewed at the top here the screws, so I can disassemble it. You can disassemble it like this. You pull, after you unscrew the screws, you pull the top part, then you make it slide. You push here to make it slide here, like that. So in fact the slides here, you see here, enter in these notches here at the bottom, in this notching structure. I call this a notching structure, this rectangular frame here, and each type has a specific notching structure. Here in the back shell there is generally a pin, but not always, and the pin here serves to hold, but it is not necessary, but it serves to hold the PCB well in place, supposed to hold the PCB well in place. And this white band generally in the PCBs here are indicates the position of the pin. So let's assemble it back here with the slides entering the notching structure, and then you can screw it here with the screws. So here is a photo that compares overall all the type of PCBs that you can find inside a PS1 memory card. So here are the no letter. There are 4 types of PCB of the no letter. No letter means the letter just above, what is written just above the raised character, just above made in Japan in the back shell. So if it is empty, so no letter, it indicates there is one of these 4 PCBs here. You can see here they have 2 chips, flash memory chips of Atmel, and another controller chip here, Motorola. These 2 Motorola. This one is a NEC, NEC, Japan, and this one also is of Motorola, but it is shaped differently than these 2, it seems, with a different code. Anyway, here are the 4, and only this one you can recognize it with the translucent shells, because all the others are inside opaque colored shells. These 2 only for gray memory cards, and this one for a gray memory card and a grayish white, and only released in Japan. Here are the quarter of production, meaning the 4th quarter of 94, so only in Japan, because it corresponds to the launch of the PS1 console in Japan, produced until the quarter of production 54. This refers of course to this quarter of production here that you find here. Okay, so here are the 2 of the S models.
Here you can recognize them with small specificities, like this piece here just below this white band, which is lacking here, and different dispositions of the electronic component here. Here is the R PCB, which is the shortest of them, and here are the H PCB. It may be, you can see here that it is very distinguishable, the S1 here with this tracing pattern here in the front, and the R1 because it is the shortest and has these holes that resembles bullet holes. Anyway, bullet impacts. Anyway, it may be difficult to distinguish between these two, but you can always distinguish memory cards, translucent memory cards that have this type of PCBs, S2, H1 and H2, with the notching structures of the shell and all. But you can also hear that this line that separates the opaque part of the PCB with the connectors zone, this line is lower in the H1 here. And of course, these two are very similar, as you can see, so it may be difficult to distinguish between them, bearing few little features like the spaces here and this zone here. It is more larger than this one, but anyway, you can distinguish them easily from the back side, as you can see here. Here are the two H PCBs. The H1 has a black oscillator, while the H2 has a silver oscillator and a white band here separating the chip and the oscillator. So from the S1 until the H2, only one chip is used, not a separate flash memory chip and controller chip. There is also a little variation, a minor variation of the S2. It was an afterthought, so I added this after I made this photo. We will see it later when I present every PCB separately. And there is an important specificity in that the NOLETTER 1 and NOLETTER 3 have a little latency when inserted in memory cards. All the other models don't have, when inserted in the slot, all the other memory cards don't have this latency. We will see that later. So here we have 6 different memory cards, translucent memory cards of the blue color. They are all spare ones. They are not part of the main collection because they are yellowed. Anyway, here from the back shells you can distinguish easily the PCB type. Here the two chips of the NOLETTER 3 with the Motorola controller chip. Here is the NOLETTER, the S1 and the S2, the R, the H1 and H2. You can distinguish the S1 from the S2 with the absence here in the S1 here of the little piece of electronic here just below the white band here that indicates the position of the holding pin. And you can also distinguish here with the pieces here above. Here you can see there is a black component here of electronic, whereas here you can distinguish that it is here in the middle. Here you can clearly see the shortest PCB of the R type, which is easily distinguishable with 2 pins. Here you can see, for example, H1 and H2, you can distinguish them with the pin here and the white band here that indicates the position of the pin, and the silver oscillator here instead of a black one. And you can also distinguish them with the silver screws that were associated with the H2 PCB of the PS1 era. So here, from the front side, from the front shell, you can easily distinguish, of course, the NOLETTER 3 with the long PCB, the S1 with this distinguishable here tracing pattern of the PCB, of this side of the PCB, and the R PCB with the here the holes like bullet holes, bullet impacts here of the R PCB, and no and opaque here in the connectors part here in the connectors. But it may be difficult to distinguish the 3 other models, but it's not impossible, of course. Here is the S2 that resembles the H1 and the H2 from the front side, but here you can easily recognize the S2 from a H type with the notching structure here. Here you can see the line here of the frame, which is at the same level here. Here with the rectangle indicating the label position, whereas here it is below that line in the H1 and H2. Well, how you can distinguish the H1 and the H2? You can see, for example, this line, the demarcation between the opaque part of the PCB and the white part here that indicates the connectors. Here it is below. It's like just here you can clearly see that the line is just below the top of the logo, whereas here it is at the same level, it seems, or a little above. You can also distinguish here in the connectors part. You can see that the connectors appear more clearly here in the H2 in comparison to the H1. Don't focus on the color. This one is just more yellow than this one. And here is also an indicator. You can see here clearly the marks of the silver screws, whereas here you can see normal screws here with the black part here, whereas here you can see that it is a silver part here, indicating that there is a silver screw behind. And of course you can distinguish them with the molding pattern, but it may be harder to distinguish them by with that. You can clearly see, maybe if you can see these circles here at the bottom of the rectangle of the label, you can see that there are circles which indicates an H1. In the 2 molding patterns of the H2 PCBs, the H2 front shells, I mean, there are no circles here.
CV. Ah, cercle global, ok.
Alors, billetterie, voucher, voyage, point de désert.
So let's compare now the 4.4 with the one that came just after, which is the 5.2. Where is, no, the 5.1, I mean, the one that just came after is the 5.1. So here's the 5.1, here's its PCB, and now you will notice that, so 4.4 in slot 1 and 5.1 in slot 2. You see? Four is the fastest one here, so let's remove it and let's now compare the 5.1 with the 5.2. Where is it? So here's the 5.2. Here's its PCB. Let's now compare. So yes, 5.2 in slot 1, 5.1 in slot 2. You see, 5.1 is the most performant here. So let's remove it to compare 5.2 with the one of my collection, 5.3. The first one released in the Western market. So 5.2 in slot 1 and 5.3 in slot 2. Once again. And once again. So you see, let's leave the slowest one here. We'll now compare now the 5.4 with the 5.3. As with the matching PCB here, you can see in the years and weeks. So 5.4 in slot 1 and 5.3 in slot 2. You see that 5.3 is faster than 5.4. Let's now compare the performance, meaning the latency speed of the different memory cards of the layer 3, of the NOLETTER 3 PCB. So we start with this one, the first one, I think. You can see where the 6.3. You can see here the PCB, the dates. That's the HDKU. That's the slowest one and the earliest one. You You can see it here. Let's compare it with the 6.4. You can see the dates here. It's an HDK Z here. Let's remove them. So 6.3 in slot 1 and 6.4 in slot 2. Let's try again. Let's now swap them. Yes, 6.3 here is noticeably more faster. I have another 6.4. Let's compare it with another 6.4. I have two others. Let's start with this one. So 6.3 in slot 2 and 6.4 in slot 1. This time the 6.4 is the fastest one, it seems. So it really varies. Let's test now the two 6.4. Six four here and here 6.4 as well. So the second one is the fastest, meaning this one that has the earliest week in comparison to this one. What HDK is this? It's the X. So there is no real rule here, but anyway, the ones produced in 7.1. Here I will test the one of my collection. I will not open it again, but I will just show. There is the one of my collection, 7.1. You can notice that it is here. I will compare it with the fastest among the ones tested earlier. So this one, $96.40 is written in the flash chip. So, and you will notice here. Let's test again. So this is really noticeable. You can see this is the one of my collection, and most of the ones produced from the 7.1 quarter here and onwards have this latency, and I think it's the optimal performance when it comes to the NOLETTER PCB. Here's the one I'm using here when playing FF9. Let's compare it with the one of my collection. You see, they have the same speed. Then it depends on the time of the memory card insertion in the slot. I will now compare this one, the one I'm using, or just the one of my collection, with the latest quarter of the NOLETTER 3 PCB here. Meaning the 8.1. You can notice here the difference in the color of the sticker between the 7.4 and the 8.1. Yeah, there's the one of my collection, so 7.1. Here's the 8.1. I will just see, just show the, so 98 here, and what's this, 06 week. So that's the latest flash chip in the NOLETTER 3 PCB among the memory cards I possess. So let's compare this one with the one of my collection, 7.1. Here, let's try again. You see, there is no noticeable difference. The difference you can see here when inserted are much as just the moments when I insert the memory cards in the slots. So we can try other memory cards released in between. So 7.4 here, and here the 7.3, the one with the durest font. They also have the same performance. Let's try this one, compare it with the one of my collection. So if you want one with the optimal latency, with optimal speed when it comes to reading the memory cards in the console, you just need to collect one that is produced from the 7.2 and onwards. The 7.1 and onwards, most of the ones produced in the, as a reminder, most of the ones produced in the 7.1 quarter have the optimal latency, but some of them have a higher latency. But it seems that the quarter 7.2 is the safe quarter, 7.2, 7.3, so 7.4 and 8.1. You will not find 7.3, 7.4 and 8.1 with Japanese stickers, but they are not rare, it seems, in the other markets, so Europe and the US. Let's test these two. You can see here. So it seems it's the same latency, or the difference is too small that it is not really noticeable. So I will not take it into account if there is one. Here, with extra spare memory cards, I will show that the NOLETTER 2 and NOLETTER 4 have no latency when inserted in the memory card slots. So there's one with a Western sticker in good state, 6.1 and 6.2. Let's try with this one. So this is the NOLETTER 2. You can see it. You can see here with the neck flagship. This is HDK P. And here you can see no latency. Let's try this one as well. 6.2 Japanese. Let's see here. The neck flash chip. This is HDK R. I think it's a late board of the NOLETTER 2, and here you see no latency. Let's try also the NOLETTER 4. Here are the two models. These are two spare ones, two extra ones. They are not part of my collection. So let's try the earliest NOLETTER 4 PCB here. The one of the grayish white memory card. PCB released only in Japan, as a reminder. You can see here the dates, and here HDK K. And you will notice here no latency, like all the other models S, H and R. And here is the latest with this distinctive sticker of the 8.1. Here is in Japan with the NOLETTER 4. There's an extra one. NOLETTER 4 PCB. Here's the latest one. Don't know if you can see it here. What quarter? What week? Yeah. 98.17, 98.11 here. Not the flash chip, it's the controller chip. Even when I was talking about the neck, it is the controller chip I meant earlier. So anyway, let's try it. It's the HDKS, by the way. This one. So I think it's the latest board of the NOLETTER category in general, the long boards. Anyway, you can see here that there is no latency. So here is a main shell category, namely the S1. Here is the back shell of this category with the specific size the front shell I mean, with the specific size of the notching structure here. And here's the back shell with the S raised letter just above Made in Japan, and the holding pin in this specific position. Now, if we look closely at the back shell, we notice this number 42, and this indicates in fact that what I call a molding pattern, meaning with the molding circles structured that way in these specific positions. I named this molding pattern 41 to 48 because you will notice that S back shells that has a number here from 41 to 48 have this specific disposition of the molding circles, and it is one of the 6 different molding patterns of the S back shells I noticed. No, more importantly, I noticed that these 41 to 48 back shells come always with a front shell that has this 41 to 48 number here. Don't know if we can notice here. Let's zoom in. Here you can notice a 41, for example, here. And this also indicates a molding pattern of the front shell with this specific disposition of the circles here, for example, with these 2 circles here at the bottom here of the rectangle of the label zone. And thus assembling a 41 and 48 S front shell with the 41 to 48 back shell is what I called one of the legit matching of the S molding pattern. This means concretely that if this memory card was a part of my collection, and if I want to replace its front shell that is damaged or yellowed or so, I need to look for a front shell that has the 41 to 48 to match with the back shell. Does this mean that I will not use this front shell, for example? This is another one of the S category with this notching structure and all, because meaning it can fit in like you see here, since it's the S type also, but because it has this number here 26, which indicates another notching, another molding pattern, namely the pattern from 25 to 28. So this is not a legit matching, but I wouldn't do that because this is not a legit matching of the S molding pattern. I don't remember everything, but I think I did a front shell replacement in 2 or 3 of my memory cards of the main collection. And in the next video, in which I test all the memory cards in the console, I show that every memory card has a legit molding pattern matching with the front and the back shell. By the way, the molding pattern is what determines the shape of the circles here, of the engraved circles here on the back shell. Like the front shell molding pattern is what determines the shapes also of these circles here engraved at the top, and also the engraved Sony here at the bottom. So for example, here the difference in shapes of the O here is determined by the molding pattern here. For example, the 25 to 28 have larger O than the pattern 41 to 48. So here are the molding patterns of the front and the back shells of the NOLETTER type. So here's the first one and the second one. There are 4. So the first one contains at the top left corner here numbers from 1 to 6 if I remember correctly. Here are the disposition of the circles, and here is the second one. You see the positions of the circles at the bottom are different, and the number here is like upside down, and it is also a random number from 1 to 8 if I remember correctly, and it is also at the top left corner here. There is the third one, what I call the A2, because it's code here in the top right corner. There's also a random number at the top left corner. And here is the last one, the fourth and last one, what I call the A3, because that's the code here that appears at the top right corner. And here there is also a random number from 1 to 8 if I remember correctly in the top left corner. Here, of course, you can see these molding circles here through the translucent memory cards, but most of them, of the translucent memory cards of the NOLETTER, have this pattern, and few of them have this one. So now the back shells. So the first one, here's the first one. Contains a number here from 1 to 6 if I'm not mistaken. And there's the second one. Contains here smaller circles at the top in the structure that protects the connectors, and here we have a letter. It is from A to H if I'm not mistaken. So here are the NOLETTER patterns 3 and 4 of the back shells. So here is the third pattern, the B2, as you can see here with the circles, and here is the B3, the last one. It has B2 then a random number, and this one, the last one, has a B3 then a random number from 1 to 8 or 1 to 9, I don't know. Can also differentiate them here with the circles here that are not in the same position here, and also with the circles here. So here you can see the front engraving of the NOLETTER front shells. Here is pattern 1 and 2, 3 and 4. What distinguishable features here, you can see the circles at the top here, the engraved circles are smaller here in the front pattern 1, whereas here they are larger, then they are slightly smaller again here from the third pattern, and the fourth one also. So this is an intermediate size, this is the larger one, but and this is the smallest size, but this is not really a reliable shape for a reliable mean to distinguish between models of the NOLETTER. You need the sticker at the back. Regarding the models of my collection, for example, here in the engraving they all have a thin engraving of the Sony here, but maybe you can notice that this one of the pattern 3 is the thinnest among them. Regarding the back engraving, so here's the pattern 1, 2, 3 and 4. here I think apart from this smaller circle engraved just above the box sticker, all the others are larger and have more or less the same size. Yes, but anyway, if you look at the box shell, it's better to distinguish with the sticker for the relevant model with the quarter of production. So these are the patterns of the inner shell of the S memory card models. So this is the two first ones, the pattern 1 and the pattern 2 of the S shells. You can notice the molding patterns. You can notice here the circles, they are different, their positions are not the same. So here you can see that there is a circle in the middle. This is the most distinctive feature. So the first pattern of the front shell have this number 9 or 10, and there is no circle here in the middle, at the bottom in the middle. So this is the most distinctive feature of the first pattern. The second one can have the number from 10 to 15, like you see here. Yes, the first pattern can have the number 10, and the second one also, but the position of the circles are not the same. For example, there is this middle circle here in the bottom, and the position of the side circles here are different. So here's the third pattern. The number here can be from 21 to 25. This is very similar to the second pattern, but you see here the circles are not placed in the same position in the side. You can see here. So this is the third front pattern. Then the fourth one, this is the number here can be 25 to 28. There are almost no circles except the two here at the top. Then we have the fifth one with a lot of circles here. You can see with various sizes. The number here can be 31 to 38 if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 39 here. And the last one, there they can be differentiated by the size of the circles. They're not the same. This is the fifth pattern, this is the third one, and there's the last pattern, the sixth one. The number here can be 41 to 48. You can see it's similar to the fourth one. There's the fourth one, this one. No, not this one. The one that have 25 to 28. That's similar to the fourth one with two circles at the top, but it contains two circles at the bottom here and the sides, whereas the fourth one doesn't contain the circles here. These two patterns are the two patterns that are used most often from the memory cards of the S2 PCB, it seems. And it seems also that they are used for most memory cards produced from the year 98 and onwards of the S model. So let's see the back shells now, the patterns of the back shells. So the first pattern here contains the number 10, but it is written in the right side here. The second pattern is very similar to the first one, but contains the number here. It can contain a number from 9 to 13, or maybe 14 and 15, but I've never seen this. From 9 to 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, but in the left side. And here, the position of the circles are not the same, as you can see. That's the second. So here's the back shell of the third pattern. It seems similar to the second one here, but you can notice a small difference apart from the number. It seems that the circles at the top are not in the same position here. It seems like they are more close here, they are more close to the bottom. And maybe they are slightly smaller, but I don't know. Anyway, here, this small circles here at the close to the corner here, they are placed in the top, whereas here they are more close to the hole of the screws. So this is the third pattern. From the third pattern onwards, regarding the S shells, the front shells, the numbers here in the front shells and the back shells match. So here, like for the third pattern of the front shells, the number here can be from 21 to 24, like here. Let's compare it with the first. Yes, here you can differentiate them with the position of the circles. So here's the third one. The fourth one, with the numbers that match the fourth pattern of the front shells, meaning 25 to 28. Let's compare it to the other. Also very similar, but here very similar to the third one, but with smaller circles here at the bottom. The fourth one, the fifth one, the one that have numbers in the 13th, so from 31 to 38 here. It doesn't have circles here in the middle. And the last one, the sixth pattern, meaning the one that contains numbers from 41 to 48. Let's see the difference. Here. Yes, It's almost identical to the fourth one, but you can differentiate them here with the position of the top here. Circles, they are more at the top here in the 41 to 48 pattern. You can notice that in the buck shells, all of the buck shells of the S model have this marking B01, and most of the front shells, the early front shells of the gray color, have this A01. So A for the front and B for the back shells early. But here there are some exceptions. For example, for the front shells in the translucent memory cards, there is no marking here. I didn't notice this marking in any of the translucent of the S models, translucent memory cards of the S models I possess. But it can sometimes be present in the in other opaque colors, like the white ones. For example, I think I have this one here. You can see it. But I think in most of the S2 memory cards, so in late 98 year, I think this marking will not appear here in the front shells. So there are exceptions. I have a memory card, an early memory card that don't have the marking. I will try to find it here. Here is it. For example, it's an early one, 7.2, with the 25 to 28 pattern. Here, no marking. This is a rarity, but it exists. Here are the memory cards of the cherry red color and the 8.1 quarter of production, and you will notice here that the quarter of production or the color variant is not an indicator of a specific pattern. Here there are two of the cherry red. This one is just more yellow than this one. Here you can notice that this one has the last pattern, 41 to 48, whereas this one has the pattern, the fourth pattern, meaning 25 to 28. Here you can distinguish easily because they are translucent memory cards. You have here the two circles at this level, which is a distinctive of the 41 to 48 pattern in the front shell. Here they are not. And you can see here, for example, the 228 here and here. There is a number, there is a 4 and the 444. And in the back shells, of course, they match. Here 44. It's not necessarily 44. I mean, so a number between 41 and 48. Here we have, I think it's a 26 you can see here, meaning you can see without opening the memory card. You can also see the difference through the circles at the top here in the structure protecting the connectors. Here they are more close to the bottom, whereas here they are like in the middle in the 40 pattern, and here they are close to the bottom in the 25 to 28 pattern. So with this element you can differentiate the patterns you can see here easily in the translucent memory cards, but it may be complicated to distinguish patterns in opaque memory cards, but you can guess sometimes from the S2, especially in the S2 memory cards, S2 memory cards of the S model that contains the S2 PCB inside, meaning the memory cards that have here the quarter A3 and onwards. So this is an S2 gray memory card. We can here guess that it is a memory card that it has the 41 to 48 pattern in the front shell and in the back shell as well. Here, for example, in the back shell, you can see here the position of the circle here. Inside, you can see that they are not close to the bottom, they are like in the middle, which is distinctive of the 41 to 48 pattern. We will compare it with, no, not this one. Yes, this is the, what number is here? Yes, 28, and here 45. You see here, you can notice in this point of view, here the circles in the middle, and here more close to the bottom. You can see. So in the middle means the 41 to 48 pattern, and the more close to the bottom mean the 25 to 28. So most memory cards of the S2 type have these two patterns, 25 to 28 or 41 to 48. So let's compare here, and you can see that they are more close to the middle here. You see here. Whereas this one so it should be the, here you can guess that it is the back shell has the pattern 41 to 48, and you can also guess with the engraving here of the Sony that it is the 41 to 48 pattern. Let's compare, for example, here you can see with the translucent. So these are the distinctive traits of the 41 to 48. So this is the 41 to 48, and this is the 25 to 28, the fourth pattern, and this is the sixth pattern here. And you can notice that the engravement in the 25 to 28 pattern is thicker here in the Sony, is slightly thicker, and whereas this one is slightly thinner, and you see here that the engravement matches with this one, so it should be, the front shell should be of the 41 to 48. Here you can see they're different. Yeah. The circle here inside the O is too small in comparison. It's slightly smaller than this one, and this one much smaller with this one, so that have the 41 to 38. So when you open it, of course it has, where is it, here 41 and here 43, with the two circles here, distinctive of the 41 to 48 pattern. Another example here, but this is an S1 memory card, but produced in the 98th year, so it has most likely the 25 to 28 pattern or the 41 to 48 pattern. So this one, you can see the thicker engraving here of the Sony at the bottom here in the front shell, and you can also notice here the circles and the structure that protects the connectors, that the circles here are closer to the bottom, so it should be the 25 to 28 pattern in the front shell and in the back shell as well. So, and we will verify, and there is it, 25 here and 27 in the front shell. Maybe there is another indicator. Let's see if this circles here just above the sticker indicates something. Yes, you can notice here, maybe without even, no, but I think you need nevertheless to look at the circles here in this structure. Yes, here the 25 to 28 pattern in the back shells have larger circles here just above the sticker than the back shells of the 41 to 48. Well, this is little features I noticed, a little feature I noticed in the slides of the S model, but maybe it also concerns the other shells of the R or other models, but I didn't notice anything, or I didn't really search for such details. But here I noticed that in some patterns you may find slides here that are round shaped here, whereas others are square shaped, and I noticed that you may struggle to insert these slides in some notching structures. For example, this is of the 31 to 38 pattern, and this round shaped here shape makes it hard to insert this back shell of the 31 to 38 in other notching structure than the one of the front shell of the 31 to 38 pattern. But since it's the same as shell, type of shell, you can insert them. but you may struggle a little when you try to insert these ones, for example, in some notching structures. And we have also now the engraving, the front engraving here. You can see here the circles, engraved circles at the top. I think this one, yes, this is the first, this is the second, this one, the second one have the smallest circles it seems. So it's not really, there is a wide range of sizes here, so it's not really an indicator. But here with the Sony engraving, here you can easily distinguish the thinnest engraving here that concerns the 31 to 38 pattern in the front shell. And here you have thick engraving in the pattern 2, 3, and more importantly the pattern 4, because these two, pattern 4 and, so I said pattern 4 and 6 are the ones that are used for the S2 memory cards. It seems it's they are the only ones used for the S2 memory cards, S2 and the S3 of the PS1 Slim era, of course. So you can distinguish by this engraving, this thick engraving with the small circles concern this pattern, whereas a thinner, but not the thinnest like this one, a thinner engraving like this one concerns the 41 to here 48, I did a mistake, 41 to 48 pattern. Regarding the others, it's not really important because these three first patterns generally concerns all the S1, and here these two, most of the memory cards that have these two patterns are gray memory cards. Most of the patterns 2 are gray, and I think all the pattern 1 are gray memory cards, and the S1 model of the gray color is not really a rare model, it's the most common model. So it's not really important, but it is maybe important to retain the features of these two, because they are of the S2 used. They are used, of course, for the S1. I think all these memory cards are of the S1, but they are for the S2, only these two are used. So a thick engraving concerns the 55 to the 25 to 28 pattern, whereas the slightly thinner one concerns this pattern. As for the back engraving, here, what do we have here? Here you can notice that the circle here just above the sticker is larger with this pattern, the 25 to 28. Yes, it's the fourth pattern. Whereas for the two first patterns it is the smallest. But yes, this one is smaller than this one, as you can see here. Apart from that, there is nothing really important to retain from here, because the sticker tells more. Regarding the air molding pattern in the air type of shell, we have two types. Here we have the one with large circles here in the rectangle of the label zone, and smaller circles here. Whereas the second one has larger circles in the bottom part here surrounding Sony, but it has no large circles here. There is also a third circle here, but it doesn't appear clearly. Maybe, yes, it is here. You can see it here. Here there is a third circle, but it appears less clearly. And these front shells of the circle here that have circles, I think they were, you can find them in the, this is a cherry red, but this is not an orange, but it is just yellow wood. You can find them more easily, they are rarer, these circles. You can find them more easily in the cherry red, in the crystal. Many early crystal models have this pattern, and it seems also in the smoke gray. Anyway, it has also a second specificity. Here you can see it. Look at this piece of plastic that here that protects the holder of the screw. Here you can see it. Here, here, which is not present in the other side. You can see it. So this is also a distinctive specificity of the big circles pattern of the front shell of the R type. Here there is the other type, the standard one without circles, and you can see that there is no plastic piece here that covers the lateral plastic piece that covers the screw holders. Yes, here you can see a comparison. I forgot to tell, but the front shells also have a number in a random position, like here it's upside down. You can see here it in a twisted position. A random number from 1 to 8 maybe, or 1 to 7, I don't remember. Here at the top left, both types. Here is the standard type with no big circles, and there is also this number here in the other type of pattern of the front shell of the R, which have the big circles here. And we have also the back shells. There are also two different type of back shells. There is the one, the standard one, the more common one. This is not a really good photo, but anyway, you can see it here that there are two circles here and a number between them. This is the most distinctive trace. Here are the other disposition of the circles, but here a number from 1 to 8 or 1 to 9. I don't really remember, but anyway, this is the standard pattern, and here is the other pattern which has numbers here inside the left circle here. It can be 1-3 or 1-4. Maybe those are the earlier pattern of the back shell. And the other circles here, this position, I think it's the same as the other pattern, the one that have a number in the middle here. Anyway, there is a very distinctive trait here of the standard pattern here that have a number in the middle, and the 1-3 or 1-4 in the other pattern, the rarer pattern. In that, you can see here there is a little notch here that makes, you will see it later, that makes these slides not overslip, whereas this one doesn't have these notches here. I will show a video. I will show the difference. Here we have two different back shells of the same type, of the same pattern. The patterns with the letters inside the circle, the letter inside, the numbers inside the circles. I mean, here you can see the absence of the notch here just below the slides, but there is a difference. They can be placed randomly, it seems. These slides here, there is a difference in the placement of the slides. These models, I think they are the early ones because they have a flaw, and that's why they added, I think, the small notches here afterwards, because when this slide is placed, this slide here is placed at this level here, you can see with the demarcation of the bottom of the wave here, when it is placed, there is too much difference between this level, the bottom of the wave, and this level, meaning the top of the slide. The memory cards, when you put them together, the front and the back shell, there will be an overslip. You can see it here. I will show you. Where is the video? Here you see that there is an overslip here. You can clearly see. Here, you see the little difference here. You can see it. Whereas the other one here, and this also contains the letters inside, there is no overslip because they were well placed. Whereas this one has the overslip. Way here with the 1-3, this one also has an overslip. By the way, this is one of my two memory cards of the R model of the gray color, and which is odd is that they were produced in 99. There is no photo of the back stickers, but were produced in 99, so late models, 9.1 quarter and the other of the 9.2 quarter. But this one has an overslip here, so you will need to adjust the two shells level manually before tightening the screws, because like explained earlier with this space here, this is also placed at a low level here, this slide, but since it is of the other model, this one doesn't have the overslip because of this notch. Okay, so it matters, the placement here of the slide level matters only if there is no notch here that prevents the front shell to overslip in comparison to overslip over the back shell, over the front shell, I mean. Here you can also clearly see that the engraving in the back shell is not the same. You can clearly see here, for example, that the pattern of the air back shells that have the 1-3, 1-4 and the letters inside the circles have, it seems, larger circles here in the back. So here is the front shell of the H memory cards, here with the distinctive here circles here. These circles you see here at the bottom of the rectangle of the label zone are what differentiate the H1 shells from the H2 shells because they have the same notching structure here. H1 and H2 shells. Here there is a number here at the top. Here, a random number from 1 to 8 or so, or 1 to 7. I don't remember, but there is this is not of no real importance anyway. And here is the back shell of the H1 back shells. Here you can see that there is no pin. Look at these positions here of the shells. There is also a number at the top left here. And here is what looks like the back shell of the H0 with the pin here. And I noticed no real difference between this and the back shell of the H1 back shell. Here, other from this pin, of course. And the H1 and H0 seems to share the same front shell. I didn't notice any difference. Here we see that there is also no difference between the back shell, no noticeable difference at least between the back shell of the H1 and the H0 here. Here is one of my H0, whereas here is my only H1 that has no pin with the 9 1/4, and you see that there is no real difference in shape of the circles here just above the back sticker. So here are shown the two patterns of the H2 shells, back and front. Here are the front shells. So we have two patterns. One I named the letter pattern, and the other one I named the numbers patterns, because it depends here on the type of character here, if it is a number or a letter. And you can clearly see here the difference in that the letter pattern have larger circles here. Of course, there are no circles here at the bottom of the rectangle of the label zone, and that's what the main element that differentiated from the H0 from the H1 shells regarding the emerald and island blue colors only that are shared by the H1 and the H2 shells. Anyway, but here you can notice smaller circles here that indicates the numbers pattern. It seems in the early years of production, 2001, both were used, but most of the ones produced, like the ones you can find in Japan, for example, produced in 2004, 2003, most of these late models have the letter pattern, it seems. You can see here with the number here, and I don't know if it is noticeable here, but you should spot a letter here. Yes, it is a B, I think, B later on. Anyway, let's see now in the back shell, I didn't notice anything apart from here there is a D letter at the back, and here there is a number here, an 8, I think. Apart from that, I think I didn't notice any difference. Maybe here the circles are maybe more close, but I really don't know. Anyway, it's not important. You can see if it is a letter or a number through the translucent shell. Are the other features? So I didn't notice any difference, but there surely is, but it's not really important. Here is the engraving of the front side. here. I didn't notice anything really significant, but maybe here the letters, yes, this is the number with the smaller circles, so maybe this O here is slightly larger, but I'm really not sure. Here is a letter, and there is also a letter. Maybe the O is more thick, so the circles in the circle in the middle is smaller in the letter shells in comparison to the number pattern. Here is the number pattern, but this is not really distinguishable in a photo online, or anyway, it's not really important. And in the top side, I didn't notice anything. Where is it? Yes. Here. You can see the distinctive large circles in comparison to other models. I mean the distinctive relatively larger circles than the other models of the H shells, H1 and H2, but there is no difference between the letter and the number. Here it seems patterns of the front shell of the H2 in terms of the size of the top engraved circles here. And I think I don't have a video of the back shells comparison, but here the size you see here, the size you see here of the distinctive large circle just above the back sticker of all generally the H models. This is the letter pattern. It is also the same in the number pattern. The same size. So there is no real difference. Even if I don't have a photo here, but if I remember correctly, they are the same. So here I put together shells of different types. So S, R, and H. They are all of the light gray color, the color matching the PS1 Slim era. And this can only be used regarding the gray memory cards. Here I took the most important, the most relevant models, so S2, R, and H. This is the H2, but the H1 has the same molding features here, so this can be also used, as I said, for the gray memory cards. So here you can spot directly the H memory card by looking to these larger circles. Here, maybe it's not really clearly noticeable, but at this angle here, you can clearly see that these are slightly larger than the other memory cards, comparison to the others. So this is the H. That's how you can spot an H. So here, this is the light gray color, so it's an H2. If it's the gray color, so an H1, of course. Here you can also spot an S2 directly by looking at the engraved Sony here. Because this thick engraving is what characterize the 25 to 28 molding pattern of the S shells. So this is an S2 automatically, okay? And this is also an S2, but with a less distinguishable here engraving of Sony, a less thicker engraving. So this should be the one that has 41 to 48 molding pattern. Okay, here you can, this is an R, but you can't really distinguish with this, but maybe you can distinguish with the engraving type here of the Sony. its thickness is similar to the others, the one of the H and the one of the S2, but pattern 41 to 48, but it seems more, it seems deeper, more deeply engraved. Here it is noticeable because of the dirt, but even without the dirt you can notice that it is deeper. So if we look at the back side, here you can see H. So now let's say you cannot distinguish clearly here with the sticker, but you can know that it's an H instead of an S with the large circle here, a larger circle here. You see here, it's even larger than the larger among the two patterns used for the S2 here, and noticeably larger than the one of the S here, of the pattern here. And the smaller one, the smaller circle here concerns the R, the smaller circle concerns the R model here. Of course, to spot for the light gray color, to spot an R model, this is not really important for the gray because they are not rare at all, but the light gray of the R models are rare. They were only produced with the Japanese sticker in the 01, it seems, but there are also S models with the 01 with Japanese stickers. So to differentiate them, maybe you can use this smaller circle that indicates an R model, but also there is another feature which is, but maybe it will not be noticeable in photos. This is here the letters, the raised letters, they are, it seems like they are more firmly raised, more raised here, more noticeable here, and slightly thicker maybe than the raised letters here, memory card, Sony computer, etc. That of the other models, H and S. Yes, it's really hard to distinguish, yes, between these two. But of course, if it's a quarter that is before 2001, it should be automatically an S instead of an H, because they were produced from 2001 and onwards, it seems, the H2 models. So that's it. So here in this picture you can see that the second memory card from the left, there is a clear sign here with the circles engraved at the top that it is an H memory card, an H front shell, for example. And there's the confirmation. So here you can see what I found about the legit matching of the molding patterns regarding the various shells, all the shells. So here you can see, for example, that in the NOLETTER shells and the S shells, this molding here, you can see that in most of the case the front pattern is matched with its counterpart back pattern, for example. So for example, the first pattern of the front shell is matched generally with the second pattern of the back shell, and so on, and the third with the third, and so on. But sometimes they were mixed. So a front shell, for example, of the second pattern was matched with was put together with the back shell of the third pattern. And here you can see here front pattern 3 with back pattern 2. And also here in the S molding, the very first front pattern was used sometime with the pattern here of the back shell, the first one, and sometimes with the second one. That's what I spotted, at least. So as a reminder, this tine S, there are two type of 10 here, two different molding patterns of the front shells of the S shells, but there are two that have the same number 10, but they are different. Whereas here in the 10 right, it means that there are also two different 10 in the back shells, but one is written this 10 at the right of the shell, whereas for the other pattern it is written at the left. Anyway, what you need to know here is that the S2 pattern, the S2 memory cards, most of them, I think it's all of them have, that's what I noticed at least, have this pattern matching, which is the front pattern 4 with the back pattern 4 and the front pattern 6 with the back pattern 6, meaning the front shells that have 25 to 28 as a number matched with back shells that have 25 to 28, and or you can find them with a front shell with a number from 41 to 48 and associated with a back shell that have also a random number from 41 to 48. Here in the H2 molding patterns, the rule is just that the front shells that have numbers are associated with back shells that have numbers, and the same thing regarding the letter here. If the front shell have a letter, the back shell also have a letter. H1 and H0 have no molding pattern variation, and R molding, I didn't notice any matching consistency regarding the L molding patterns. There are two molding patterns for the front shells and two for the back shells, but they are they are matched randomly in seams, or at least I didn't notice anything special, anything consistent. So here are some specificities of the logo font in the front shell. So for example, here you may notice that for the smoke gray, this is the smoke gray color, you can here notice that the one of the R model here with the shortest PCB, the R model, its smoke gray color variant have a specific color of the logo font here. It is like a brownish color here. So all the translucent memory cards seem to have a shiny silver font here, but you can clearly see here that it has a slightly different color. You can notice it here also with the H model. H1, the smoke gray of the H1 also have, it's like a duller color of font, brownish here, and all the H generally have less shiny and less thick here font of the logo of the front shell. But this one is really distinguishable among the other memory cards of the smoke gray color. There is also a specificity of this model. Where is it? Here. The autumn, there is orange memory cards released only in Japan in the quarter 7.2 with this really distinguishable dual colored font here. It's like a pinkish font instead of a silver one. This is the memory card produced in the 7.2 and released for the autumn season, limited edition for the autumn season of 97 as the second clear color variant for the Japanese market. It seems to have an equivalent in the Western market, and it is the very first memory card of the orange colors released in the Western, in the two Western markets, so Europe and the US, which is this. Where is it? This one. Here. There is a photo with more details. So it's a Candy Orange released with the NOLETTER 3, with the quarter 7.3, and this is not a random feature here that can appear in some model of the 7.3 and only partially in the 7.3 quarter. This is, I think, by design, the color font of the memory cards released with this quarter code of the Candy Orange color. You can clearly see here there is a slight difference. It is slightly duller. It is a slightly pinkish color in comparison to the standard one that all the translucent memory cards have, which is a pinkish, which is a silver color, a silver whitish color here of the font here. Even maybe you can think it is the lighting angle also. So I switched the position here, or is it? I switched the position so it is still distinguishable here. Here is also another photo I found on the net. Even if this is another model here, it is of the S type, but here you can clearly see a close-up photo here and in good quality of two different colors. And this is not due to the logo being erased here, because it is well here thick and in excellent state. And you can still distinguish here between two. Here is another one in excellent shape, but it is a slightly, here you can see that it is a slightly less shiny color. So this one should have the quarter 7.3, whereas this one, as you can see here, for example, these are two photos I found on the net. This one should have the quarter 7.4 because of this color here, standard color here. But this one is rarer because this one was released only in the US, and this one was released in the US and Europe. They were both were not released in Japan. So as you can see here, for example, you can distinguish the orange memory cards with that have the 7.2 quarter from the standard orange that have of the same type here, S1, that have a quarter 7.4 and onwards, meaning 7.4 until 8.2, because after that they replaced the S1 with the S2 PCB. Here you can clearly see a difference in font that indicates it's a 7.2 promotional model. By the way, it has an SCPH code 1191 instead of SCPH code 1020 in the SCPH code, but it's difficult to see the code in photos. Here is, maybe you can see here also of the smoke gray of the R model, that it is less shiny than, and less silverish than this one, this color here. There's another photo. So here is the latest version of the table in which I list all the memory cards models in the collection. It will be shared in a download link in the description. You can see here that each colored cell here represent a model. And that I therefore own a specific model and a model I own, of course. Of them, there are 72 colored cells. So here in the table, basically each row represents here a color. There are 20 colors as far as I know, but there are maybe only 19 because this color, crimson red, I have a suspicion about it that it may be the same color as this one, which is the see-through red. Anyway, all colors will be displayed when showing all the 72 models in the collection, by the way. So here, in the cells here, I will zoom in again. I tried to give, here, I don't know if it's visible, yes. So here in the cells I tried with the background colors here. You can see it more clearly that way. To represent each opaque and translucent official color of the shells. I tried to give it also a single code to represent it here. So the size of the cells are not too big, so I can fit in all the columns in the only a single display, a single without having to browse here. Anyway, I said I tried to give a single code to represent it here because, for example, Emerald was released with two different codes here, as you can see. I also gave certain models that don't have a color, an official code, like here with the with the see-through white here memory cards. I gave it the code YI. Here I tried to follow the pattern of codes that Sony gave to the models. Here, for example, the main family of color have the first code, like here for the main family of the red colors. The first one released, the see-through red, have the R. Then for the second released one, cherry red, RI here. Then RG for the red opaque memory card, then for color, then RQ for the crimson red. So here is the same thing with the first emerald, well, the first green G, then emerald GI, then GJ here for the second emerald, although it's the same color here, as you can see. So here, this has no official color, so I gave it a unused code, which is WI. Even though these two codes are inconsistent, because this one that was released before should have the code Y, whereas this one, the second of the white color family, should have been given the code WI. But anyways, here for the shiny silver color, here I gave it the code X that was given by the site Strefa PS6. but it has also no official code. And this one, the see-through red, see-through green, this code came from the European and the Western versions, because the first versions of these colors, the Japanese versions, don't have an official color like this one, RNG. They have only a special SCPH code here, like you can see, but I kept the codes used for the Western variants. Here, why there are 2 emeralds and 2 island blue? Because it seems they use different code when they re-released these colors in the 2001. With the other colors released specifically for the PS1 Slim era. But since they are the same color, they have the same name, but this is not really the indicator. Indicator is just that they have the same color. I didn't notice anything different, so I placed them in the same line here, so the same color, despite different codes. By the way, here, like for example, RE is the standard code, meaning without the region code, to avoid the redundancy of info here, since the cells here of each model of the memory cards indicates already the region code of all the models. But we will see this later. So I said RI, here the cherry red color is only the standard code, and it is also the code of the memory card with the Japanese package. For the American package, for example, they use the URI, and for the European ERI, U for the North American market and E for the European market. So we say that each line represents a color variant. So each color needs to be collected, of course. Like here, for example, the RG, the opaque red, and the crimson red, there are only one model of a color. So here we don't need to look for a specific specificity, look for specificities in the same color, like different PCBs and different shells. But there are many of the colors are made in different variation of PCB and shell, I mean. So anyway, here are the different columns to justify a model if there is more than one model of the same color. Anyway, so we have at least, of course, 10 columns, and since we have 10 different PCBs, NOLETTER 1 to 4, S1, S2 and S3, the R, H1 and H2. Now, within the H, so that makes at least 10 columns. Now, the main category of shells, here we have the H0 category, because the memory cards that have H1, here H1 PCBs inside, have 2 different shells, the H0 and the H1. The H0 is the shell of that doesn't have the pin in the back shell, whereas the H1 the H0 does have a pin, whereas the H1 doesn't have a pin in the back shell. So this needs to be taken into account with adds at the category. Then we have color, for example, like the crystal and the orange. There are 2 different memory cards that have the same PCB, S1, but 2 different memory cards, and I need a justification to add the columns here, since it's the same S main category of PCB, of shell, and it's the same PCB, which is the S1. But here, for example, for the crystal color, I use the argument of the different SCPH code to collect this model, which is the summer clear, that the first translucent color variant that appeared in Japan. So I use this argument here, and the same thing with the SCPH 1191 for the orange colors. There are two different S1s, but one that have 1191 and one that have the standard SCPH 1020, and the same thing for the crystal color. But there is also another feature here that could justify this column, which is the pinkish font of the SCPH 1191, but this is already a sufficient argument here. Here there is also the argument of the font. Here we have two of the same model, two of the same PCB, I mean, NOLETTER 3, same color, which is orange, but this one that is released in the 7.3, that is produced in the 7.3 quarter, has a dual font. Like you can see here, it has a dual font, like explained earlier or later, depending on the editing of this video. It has a dual font, whereas the one produced in 7.4 has a normal font, silver font of the logo. And it is by design, meaning it is not a random occurrence or within the 7.3 produced in the memory cards of the orange of the NOLETTER 3 produced in the 7.3 category. All the 7.3 seem to have this specific color of font, whereas all the 7.4 have the standard color of the font. So this also, just I use this argument of the dual font of the logo to add this column. And we have finally here the NOLETTER 1 that appears twice here for the gray. Same color, of course, gray, same PCB, NOLETTER 1, but I used here the argument of the region, because here the performance of this NOLETTER 1 PCB depends on the quarter of production, and here in the NOLETTER 1 the earliest quarter are the most performant. They have the least latency, I mean, when introduced in the memory card slot. So here, since this one that is the most performant, the 4.4, wasn't produced everywhere, it was produced only in the Japanese market, so I need separate columns here, because here this is a collection for all the region. So if I want, for example, to display only the collection for the European market, for example, or only for the US market, so I want my collection to be versatile, so it can be used only for a specific market. So I cannot present this one that is released in the 4.4, because in the US market and the European market, it doesn't. It is not supposed to exist such a model performant with the 4.4 is not supposed to exist. So I used instead this one. I kept this one, the one that have the 5.3, which is the most performant, released in the European and the US market with the NOLETTER 1 PCB. So that's why. So here in what you can see here, the colored cells, each colored cell in fact represents one of the 72 models. So in each cell there are 2 lines of info. So this one, basically, this is the cell of the silver model, 10 million cells model. So here in the cell we have in the first line the quarter of production, the first quarter of production, and the second one, 7.2 and the 8.1, without necessarily meaning that the memory card was produced in all the quarters in between, meaning the 7.3 and the 7.4. Here it was just produced in the 7.2 and the 8.1. Here in the second line we have the here in the middle we have the main markets of production. So here we have the Japanese market and the European market. So it was produced in Japan and Europe, as far as I know. That's why the color font here appear in purple instead of black. If I'm pretty sure, I leave the black font here, whereas if I have doubt, I generally I make the font color purple, because I'm not sure it wasn't released in the US as well. So JP stands for Japan, EU stands for Europe, and UC stands for the US. Here it is underlined. JP means that you have better chance to find the model in Japanese websites. There is also the 7.2 and 8.1. Here doesn't mean necessarily that it was released with these two quarters in both markets. Here, for example, it was only released in the 7.2 for the Japanese market, whereas for the European markets or the Western markets, the one that has a Western sticker was released only in the 8.1 quarter. So here I collected both models, but collecting only one of them suffice to collect this model for the collection, as per the rules of the 72 models. Anyway, here in the second line here, the 1 point here is an index of discoloration. 1 basically means that it is almost not prone at all to discoloration, whereas the maximum 6 means that it is very prone to discoloration. At first I thought about giving a discoloration index, a yellowing discoloration index to each color variant, but since I noticed that even within the same color there are varying discoloration propensity depending on the models, so I had to give to each model its discoloration index. Here the B here means the color, just the color of the screws. B for black and S for silver. The silver screws only concerns basically the PS1 Slim era models of memory cards. So basically all the models of the light gray color, and also all the models of the H2 PCB. So that's it basically. And you can find also some minor variation in the silver colors. Some of them are gilded, and some of them I noticed that have a pure silver colors, and some of them are also opaque, like the ones produced in the 2004 and the very late models. And I noticed also maybe that the H2, the H models of the light gray have a golden color instead of a pure silver ones, like the memory cards of the S model, S2 models, for example, of the light gray. But anyway, I'm not sure about this. If I have more consistent info, maybe I will share them. The background color refers to the index, a sort of index of rarity. Here you can see, here for example, that the most common is the blue color, then common, green, then uncommon, rare, very rare, whereas the most rare models, of what I consider the most rare models, have the red color. By the way, I take into account all the markets, so I assume that a collector have access to all the websites of all the three main markets, so Japanese websites, American, European, and so on. There is also this remark I left here about what I didn't take into account to consider certain memory cards as a model or so as a category. So here it is written, for example, that not taken into account are the release market when performance is not involved. So here I had to collect two NOLETTER 1 memory cards of the gray color, because the performance was linked to the quarter here, and there are quarters that the most performant ones were only released in Japan, whereas the most performant of the Western markets are not as performant as the Japanese one. So I had to collect these two, but I didn't take into account these regions if performance is not involved. But I may take this element in the future to expand the collection. So for example here for this model, the black of the H1 category, here this is the one I own, for example, the one that has this quarter, A3. It was released, it seems, only in Japan with this quarter, whereas the Western version here, maybe only in the US, but I think it was also released in Europe, but I'm not sure, was only released with this quarter, 8.4. So maybe I need to collect in the future if I want to expand the collection. Here it wasn't collected for the current collection because it doesn't involve performance. Here it's just a different date. But for consistency between region, maybe I need to collect one that has this quarter in the future. And also I need also to replace maybe this one. This is my blue of the H2, or to add another memory cards of the H2. Here you can see with the quarter code 2004, they were released so late only in the Japanese market. Here they stop at the year 2002 here with the Western stickers, if I am not mistaken. Even if the PCB, because this sticker can be removed, but the PCB inside also has a late date of production. Even if it's not 2004, it will be 2002 here. It's not really matching with this sticker, but it is nevertheless a late model. So that is not supposed to be that was not released in the European or US market. So maybe I need to replace this one also. And there are also other elements that I didn't take into account here. For example, the release market. Then the sticker type. The sticker type means only that. Here, for example, I will not no, the sticker type means only that. Where is it? Here, for example, this is the one I own of the H1 category of Emerald with the 8.4 here. The one released in Europe have also the 8.4 quarter and the 9.1 as well. Here, this is a really poor quality image, I know. It is not really visible here, but it is the 8.4 quarter with here the 17. It is not an 18. This is the 8.4 quarter. This is not the 9.1. So I own already this one, so I didn't bother to search for one with the Western sticker, so with the Western sticker type, since it's the same quarter. So, and I am not collecting another one with the Western sticker here, since it's the same quarter code. There is also another element, which is the quarter of production here. I mean the quarter of production, collecting the memory cards according to the quarter of production. Here, for example, with this Emerald model of the R type, it was released from the 8.1 until the 001. So during the 2 full years, it was released, it seems. But I collected only one model. I don't remember what quarter it has, maybe 8.3 or so. But here, only one quarter suffices. If that quarter was released in the 3 markets, Europe, the US and Japan. The one I own has a Japanese sticker, but I think for the US market it was released in every quarter. But here that just means that I'm not going to collect, and I don't see the purpose of collecting all the quarters from the 8.1 until the first quarter of 2000. There is also the variation in components within a PCB type. The variation of components within a PCB type. So here the variations of component types. I mean here, for example, here are the two S1 PCBs, one with a black oscillator and one with the white one. So if my one of my model have a white oscillator, I'm not collecting one that has a black oscillator. It's just a minor variation of the PCB, so I didn't take into account, and I don't think I will take this into account in the future to expand the collection. There is, by the way, the S2 memory cards are also concerned by these variations, in that from the 8.4 quarter or so, they started to release memory cards with silver oscillators instead of white ones. And there is also the molding pattern here that I don't think I will take into account. The molding pattern here, the legit molding patterns. So for example, here are two models of the cherry red color of the S1 PCB. Both have the 8.1, I think, quarter, but anyway, there is one that has the 41 to 48 quarter, the molding pattern, with these two distinctive circles here at the bottom of the label zone, whereas this one doesn't have this. It has surely the 25 to 28 molding pattern. That just means that if the one I own has this molding pattern, I will not collect another of the same color, same PCBs that has the other molding pattern, for example. All the many other molding patterns, because this is an S1. If it was an S2, they may have only these two molding patterns, but the S1 may have also more than two different molding patterns matchings. So the conditions for a memory card to be kept in the main collection. Here the memory card need to have here the font of the logo here in a nearly perfect state. So this one, for example, cannot be kept. This is really almost completely erased, but even if it is less erased, I will not keep it in the main collection. Also, the shell needs to be not broken, but if it is damaged, I will keep it in the collection. I have one, for example, the red one, the see-through red with the long shell. Its back shell is damaged, but I kept it because here, for example, like this one, this is also a damaged back shell, like you see here and here. But if this damaged shell doesn't prevent the memory cards, for example, doesn't prevent the PCB to be well in place inside the shell. For example, if you manage to shake the memory cards and you hear no noise, so I can tolerate this little damage here in the shell. But of course, this one cannot be kept for the collection because of the font here. And if the font is in perfect state and the shell is not damaged at all, and but the yellowing level here is too advanced, it cannot also be kept for the collection. It needs to be in a decent state of yellowing to be kept in the collection. This one is not part of the main collection, by the way. Even here, if it appears that it is in mean state, it is not at all, and you can see it here that the blue here is slightly discolored at the bottom, but it can maybe recovered, but it will never turn into its original state, unfortunately. But this one cannot turn into a decent state, so it cannot be kept. There is also finally the element of keeping the PCB inside the shell. If the PCB is well kept inside the shell, so I can keep the memory card, whereas if I don't manage to keep the shell inside the PCB by tightening the screws, for example, so this is what happens with some S2 memory cards. Like, for example, you hear this noise even after well tightening the screws here. So the memory cards like that, a memory card like that cannot be kept for the collection. Here you hear the noise, of course, because there are no screws. So here are all the 72 memory cards of the collection, here sorted by color in this group here at the top. The ones here are just spare ones that I will present when needed, when I present the colors. So here is the gray. This row is for special colors, like the promotional ones, seasonal ones, for example. Like this one, this is the 1190, the summer one, summer clear, released in Japan. This is the 1191 autumn limited edition. These two, Christmas red and Christmas green, Western and Japanese. Here is the see-through white, so see-through red, see-through green. This has no official color, so this is just we will call it the autumn orange, with the dual font as a reminder. And here is the Western one. This is not really the same, that's why it is here. The one we talked about earlier, the one with the slightly duller font than the other standard translucent memory cards. The orange released in 7.3. So this is 1190, 1191, 1192, and the see-through red of the Western market, 1193, and the see-through green of the Western market. See-through green, see-through red are of course the Japanese name. Western memory cards, Western packages had no official name, just the code R and G after the SCPH 1020. Here's we said earlier, the see-through white, then the see-through yellow. These three were released for the winter season. Then see-through yellow and grayish white, according to Strifa PS6, they were released for the spring season in Japan. But yes, this is the see-through yellow and grayish white. And this is, it was released before, I think. This is the 10 million sales special model that were offered with a draw system or something. Then we have the standard colors here in this row. So crystal, then candy orange, cherry red, emerald, island blue, black, lemon yellow, white, smoke gray, and red, simply red. Only released in the United States, in the North American market. Then here we have the new colors released with the PS1 era. With the silver screws and all. For the PS1 era, So the grayish, no, this is the light gray. It was released from the quarter 2001, 2000, no, I mean 00, it means 2000, the first quarter of 2000, I mean 0001 in Japan and 0003 in the Western markets and onwards. And here is also another color released especially for the PS1 era, which is slate gray. And here is the crimson red, very similar to this color, if not the same. Maybe these two have the same color as this one, but these two are more yellowed or so. Anyway, this is different from this one, slate gray, different from smoke gray, and it is noticeable. Light gray is also similar to grayish white, but here you can distinguish. This one is slightly more bluish, whereas this one is slightly more yellowish or beige, or I don't know what we call it. Anyway, this is grayish white, and this is the light gray, matching with the slim PS1. I said these two were released from 2001 and onwards. These are not the only colors released for the PS1. There are also the emerald and island blue that were also released for the PS1. But since they are not new colors, I put the memory cards of the PS1 era of these two colors here. You can see here the difference. This is more bluish color. This is a more bluish color than this one, which is a more yellowish color. We have, yes, let's compare with, the two see-through yellow and lemon yellow. With the two same PCB, you can notice that here, even from this angle, I think you will notice that this is more greenish than this one, which is more yellowish. Yes, what do we have also? Here is two similar colors, if not the same. Huh? Here I noticed that this one, the crimson red, as its name indicates, that it may be more purple also than this one. Maybe we can notice. Maybe it's just that the one I ordered was really yellowed, whereas this one was not. But I tried to remove the yellow of this one. Here's the other one. Maybe you can. Anyway, they have different naming, so let's consider the crimson red as a standalone color. Of course, this one, the see-through red, Christmas red, is not similar to the cherry red. You can distinguish here. This has like pinkish reflects that may be more close to orange in certain angles of photos, lighting. Anyway, so here are the gray ones. So at the top are the no-letter ones, no-letter PCBs, the four versions. So these two are of the no-letter 1, this no-letter 2, no-letter 3, and no-letter 4. In terms of color, the gray color tends to yellow very easily, so I did what I could to make the colors even between the different gray memory cards. But as I said, there is like almost no chance to find one on the net with absolutely no yellowing. Anyway, here I don't know if it will be noticeable in the video, but this one has the darker one. This is the R model, and I think you will notice that generally, if they are in decent condition, like almost new or not too yellowed, the R models seems, but maybe it's it concerns the ones released after 99, but it seems that the R model seem to have a darker color than the others, but I don't know. Anyway, the very old models like this one, like the very first one here, 44, they are really hard to find in a decent yellowing state. They almost have an advanced degree of yellowing. So anyway, this is the two of the NOLETTER 1. NOLETTER 1, the most performant memory card of the NOLETTER 1 PCB for every market, for the Japanese market then. And here is, if I'm not mistaken, of course, the most performant memory card of the NOLETTER 1 PCB released in the Western markets, in the US at least, of course, and in Europe. Maybe this was only the first model of the NOLETTER 1 in the US. Anyway, I have 5 spare one that I tested in the video in which I test every memory cards as an extra one, just in case it is the 5.4 is the first released for the European market instead of this one that has the 5.3. The one here means it's the first batch with this sticker for this European, for this Western, I mean, market, since Western stickers here means it's intended for an Western market, but it's not almost the case, like we will see later or earlier. It depends on the editing of this video with the packages. Anyway, here's the NOLETTER 2 that has a darker background color, it seems, in the sticker regarding the Japanese stickers. 6162 is the most reliable quarter to have a memory card with this NOLETTER 2 PCB. They were also released in the late 5.4 quarter, but I think if you purchase one that has the 5.4 quarter, you're more likely to find a NOLETTER 1 inside the shell. Anyway, here is the NOLETTER 3. As a reminder, NOLETTER 3 also varies depending on the quarter code here, the PCB inside, if it is old or new. The newer one are more performant, but the newer one released from the 7.1 and onwards. Not all the 7.1s are performant, but this one is, and I tested it. But if you want to be sure that it is the most performant versions of the NOLETTER 3 PCB, you need to purchase one that has 7.2 and onwards, meaning 7.2, 7.3, 7.4 and 8.1. This is a 7.1, but it is as more performant than the models of the NOLETTER 3 that came after. There is the NOLETTER 4, only released in Japan and only in 8.1, with this distinctive a special sticker here, glossy and gray, with the NOLETTER 4, only released in Japan. Here the other models that have a letter, just a raised letter at the back, just above, made in Japan. So here, as a reminder, with the molding patterns of the front shells, you can recognize the H models easily, because they have, not easily, it depends on the photo that you may find on the net, with the larger circles here, engraved circles at the top corners, at the top of the front shells, you can know that it is an H. Yeah. This is the R and this is the S. They have smaller circles. I don't know if it is noticeable here. Anyway, so here's the S1, the most common model, but not with this quarter. I ensured that this quarter is a quarter released in the two markets, European and Japanese, because the S1 models of the gray color were released from the 6.3 quarter until of course the 8.2, because in the late 8.2, of course, they replaced the S1 with the S2 PCB. Anyway, it wasn't a requirement for my collection, but I kept this one with the 8.1 quarter, because in Europe they began to be produced in the 7.4 quarter, 7.4, 8.1 and 8.2, the gray model of the S, but from Japan, from the 6.3 quarter. Here's the S2. This is the second rarest model among them, S2. The only way to be sure to purchase the S2 of the gray is to aim for 8.3 or 8.4. It seems they were not released with in the 9.1. If you purchase 8.2, of course you can find a S2 PCB inside, but it's not a guarantee, of course. The guarantee is 8.3, and there is no way to distinguish between them with the molding patterns, because the molding patterns released in the year 98 and onwards, there are the two same molding patterns, 25 to 28 and 41 to 48. Anyway, here is the R model, which is not rare in any market. Here is the moderately rare. This is slightly uncommon, but not really rare. This is the H0, the one that contains the pin in the back shell of the gray memory card. This is a late 8.3, so it was released in 8.2, 8.3 with the previous sticker, meaning early 8.3, and this is a late 8.3 with even a PCB inside that have the production year 99. So, and this makes this one the H1, meaning with the standard back shell of the H1 category that has no pin, no holding pin, square shaped pin. This makes this one rare, because, well, I didn't find yet one released in the 8.4, but 9.1, like these ones, seems the only ones with the H here model of the gray color that has no pin and the back shell. So this should be the rarest among them. And in the table, in my table that contains all the models, I gave it the rarity index of the rarest memory cards with the lemon yellow and the cherry red of the longboard released only for the US. I think this one was also only released for the US market. I don't know if it was released in Europe. I found, I think, 2 listings with this one. The one I purchased and another one, and they were all from the US. The 2 were from the US. So here is the crystal color. We have here the standard crystal colors, and here the special crystal, the very first produced, the very first color other than gray that was produced in the world, in the Japanese market. It seems this is the summer edition 1190. I don't know if it is visible here. It was only released with the S1. There is no mean to distinguish between these two at first sight. You can't choose the molding pattern because they can share the same molding pattern. Anywhere here they don't share, but I have a spare one here. This is also the S1. You can see with the distinguishable here PCB with this special tracing here, traces. Anyway, you cannot distinguish here, but maybe you can distinguish just by if the font of the back shell appears through the front shell here. You can notice here a thicker font. And of course, if you see the CE marking here, which means it's a European, it's a Western European, not released in the US, European model, it's automatically not the 1190, but here you can distinguish with the thick font here. If there are 2 Japanese models, you can distinguish with the thick font, and of course you can distinguish it easily from the back shell with the thick font here, instead of the thin one here used for the standard crystal of the Japanese models. There is also here, like all with the promotional models, it seems from 1190 to 1194, there is here less opacity in this zone, despite the same molding pattern. This is the 3 molding pattern. There is a spare one. This is a spare one. This is the one with which I exchanged the front shell because this one was in better shape. This one was yellowed, so I removed the yellowing from the back shell, but I wasn't satisfied with the yellowing level of the front shell, so I swapped these 2 front shell because it was exactly the same molding pattern, and there is no there is nothing to distinguish between these 2 models regarding the font color here. This is the same shiny silver here, so in this, so there is no noticeable. This is a spare one. Here is the main one of the collection. You can still, I think, distinguish the yellowing, maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, none of them is in perfect condition in terms of yellowing, but they are more or less even. Their degree is yellowing is more or less the same between all the models. So here is the NOLETTER 3, released in Europe and the US. Released in Europe only, not this one. This was only released in the US because it has the 7/4 here. I don't know if it is noticeable here, but yes, it's 13 that represent the 7/4. I think the 7/4 can be seen. Anyway, they are very hard to read the stickers of the crystal ones. You can notice this when searching in Google Colors and eBay or so. Anyway, this one was only released in the US, and this one was released in the US and Europe. It has the winter 10 package. This is a spare one, but I think it's in a better yellowing condition than the other. But anyway, I like to keep the rarer model. So this one, but there is no difference between the two, apart of the 7.3 and 7.4 quarter. There is no difference of font here, and the PCB is of the same performance, since they are both released after the 7.2, 7.1 and 7.2 quarter. So here's the standard S1, different from this one only with the SCPH. Here you can see that it has SCPH 1020, whereas this one has the 1190. Here is the S2 with the A3 here. Here is the R model with the short PCB with the bullets here in the phone shell. It has the circles pattern like a lot of memory cards of the crystal color of the R type of PCB. And here is, I think it is, it's not the rarest, but almost. You can see here the H1 models have always a thinner and less shiny logo here, font of the logo here, and they tend to yellow very easily. Here is the shell with no pin and the specific PCB of the H1 type. The H1 and this one are none of these models are rare, but these two are rarer than the others. Here are the orange memory cards. So here is the one with no official name, but that was released only in Japan for the autumn season, the 1191. The second promotional one for the Japanese market. It has the S1 PCB like this one, but how you can distinguish them with the if there are two Japanese models, you can distinguish them by the font, the thicker font here, but above all by the dual font here, the pinkish font that is very distinguishable from the normal font, the normal shiny silver font. And all of them has this dual font. You can see here with the spare models. Here we have three of them. And they all have this dual font. So here is the standard candy orange of all the models. Here is the NOLETTER 3 released only in the US, and here is the NOLETTER 3 that was released in the US and the European market, you can distinguish them by the code here, 7.3, the early one, and here 7.4, that has the normal, the one that has the normal font. Here it is slightly more difficult to distinguish between the two, but like explained earlier, there is a slight difference color. Maybe they tried to reproduce what they did with the promotional autumn of the Japanese market with this one for the Western markets. But the one of the 1191 is even duller than this one, but this one is a duller font than the standard shiny silver of all the translucent memory cards. I don't know if it will be noticeable here, but I think at this point it was already explained with the previous videos, the previous sequences of this video. So I collected the two anyway. Here is the S1. You can see here with the code 1020. Here's the S2. Here's the R. And here is a very special model, which is the orange of the H model. Special in that its color seems to be less darker than the others. I don't know if it is noticeable here, that it will be noticeable in camera, but here, despite the fact that it was purchased as brand new, it seems that it is specific to the H model, or maybe it is because, as you know, the H1 models tend to lose their color very, very easily in comparison to the others. So here is it. I have a spare one, which is, I don't know, I left it there. I will present it later maybe. And you can notice also a less shiny font here, despite its brand new state here. A slightly thinner font and less shiny. So here I think it will be noticeable here. Here's the concerned memory card, the candy orange of the H1. Here is the cherry red of the H1, and you see here already that they are too distinguishable, and it is not supposed to be the case. They are supposed to be closer colors, but here you can really see that you can distinguish very, very easily between the two colors, and above all, when you compare it with the darkest orange I own, that I didn't keep for the main collection for this reason. I kept another S1 orange with a slightly lighter color to match more with the others. Yes, it's darker than all the other orange, but here it is really noticeable because this is the lighter orange, so they are supposed to be of the same color, candy orange, but here you can really notice the difference. So the H1 seems maybe to be made to be the natural color of the H1, maybe this lighter tone of orange. But I'm not 100% sure. as I said before, it may be the yellowing, just the yellowing, despite the fact that it was purchased brand new. So here are the other promotional colors for winter. With these 3 ones released with the Christmas themed package or a winter package. They have the 3 have the S1 PCB, as you can see here. And the 3 were produced in the 7/2 quarter with the thick font, and here a less opaque zone here in the translucent back shell. This one has the 94, this one the 92, and this one the 93 that it was presented earlier. Here is their counterpart for the Western markets of these 2 colors. Maybe the counterpart of this one is the standard crystal that came, the early crystal that came in the West, because it was also released with the Christmas package, but this color has no equivalent. This snowy color has no equivalent in the Western market. So where is it? Significantly more opaque than the crystal one, of course, as you can see. Or even the crystal, this one. There is the one of the NOLETTER 3, released in the European and North American market. And here is the 10 million sales that commemorates the 10 million sales of the PS1 console. So the issue with these memory cards in Japan, at first with the 7/2 codes, then for the Western market with the 8/1 here, you can see with the 14 here indicating the 8/1. It is not really visible. 8/1. So released afterward, but they have bought the S1 since the memory cards from before the 8/2, the late 8/2 have all the S1. Since after the 8/2, the S1 was replaced by the S2, the revision of the board. But they have all the S PCB. The Japanese one is slightly in better shape, I think. Anyway, the inner shells resembles the color of the gray one. It's like they were dyed also in the exterior of the shells. I will show a photo surely when editing the video. Anyway, here is the one. There is no reason to keep 2 for the main collection, so let's say this is the main one of the collection and this the spare one. We have also other special colors that were released, it seems, in Japan just before the standard colors, which are the see-through yellow with packages maybe that were made to evoke the spring season. And here is the grayish white. The grayish white, they issued them with the S1 PCB, like you can see here, with the special shiny glossy sticker, and with the NOLETTER PCB, but it is not the NOLETTER 3, it is the NOLETTER 4 that was only released in Japan. So S1 and NOLETTER 4, the one that has no latency, as a reminder. I think the one, this one is slightly more yellowed, but I don't remember. I don't know if something is noticeable here. Anyway, this is not the lemon yellow, as a reminder. This one is more greenish than this one. There's another with S1 PCB. So grayish white also is not the same as light gray that appeared here with the silver screws in the PS1 era. That this is the color that matches the PS1. It is a more bluish color than this color, but they are very similar, and they are almost they are hard to distinguish in photos online. So here is the emerald color, the memory cards of the emerald color. You can see here, remember that it is not the see-through green or SCPH 1193. This is not the Christmas or the Christmas green. It's also, I call it also the Christmas green or winter green. Anyway, it is not the same color. This one is darker. Of course, you can see here with these two, the same PCB, of course. Anyway, for the emerald collection, I think this one is more discolored than the others. I remember I did 2 or 3 sessions of day along with this one. Anyway, here is, so the, no, not this one. Here is the one of the collection. This one is a spare one. Here, I think I went too far with the yellowing here because it completely changed the color. I think it's unnatural. It made it the yellowing sessions made it unnatural. It seems like a turquoise, or it's more close to. It's too close to blue. I did it to remove the yellowing here that you can notice at the bottom of the front shell, but in general, when there is too much difference in the yellowing in this level and here and here, due to the presence of sticker that protected the memory cards from yellowing from the sun, for example, it is really hard to remove the yellowing to make the color even in all the shell. So that's why I made many sessions of the yellowing, and it made it too discolored or too close to blue. But this is, I think, slightly discolored, slightly yellowed also when you compare it with the others, but it's not really noticeable since it has the long shell, the long PCB, I mean. But maybe I think if I make a day yellowing session of maybe 1 or 2 hours only, it will have the same color. But I will make it later. Oh, I'm sick and tired of all of this. Anyway, so here's the S1. So here's the NOLETTER 3, of course. This was released only in the US, but it is not as rare as the other memory cards released only in the US with the long board that have the quarter 7/4. This is so the S1 with the trace here, pattern recognizable. Here's the S2, here's the R, a very common model. Here's the H. I think this is as rare as this one. This is not common. This is rare. Oh, and by the way, how you can distinguish between these two, H1 and H2. Here's the H2, of course. Here, of course, with the back shell, it's easy to distinguish. There are the silver screws here in the H2 and the white band here with the pin, the square-shaped pin, and the silver oscillator instead of a black one. And also, of course, with the quarters, but there are two, the other elements allows to differentiate more easily. Anyway, from the front shell, it may be hard in some photos, but because it's the same notching structure and the similar PCBs, but here you can see generally the memory cards produced for the PS1, the silver screw here is noticeable here from the front shell. Here, this white dot here, whereas this dot here, that the position of the screw holder, you can see here that the screw is black, and I don't know if it can be noticeable here with the PCBs, because with the green model, since the color of the PCBs are also green, so same color as the shell, it is hard to notice the line, the demarcation between the opaque part of the PCB and the connectors. I don't know, maybe let's zoom. Yeah, I think it's not really noticeable here. But anyway, as you know, the PCBs here, the line is at a lower level in the H1 memory cards, slightly under the logo here, whereas it's slightly higher in the H2 PCBs, but you can't really notice. Anyway, there is a 100% here element that can allow you to differentiate, but I don't know if it will be noticeable in photos of eBay listings also. There is the molding pattern here. I don't know if it's a bit more lighting. Yes, here, these circles here inside the rectangle of the label are present in the H1, whereas they are not present in the H2 with both molding pattern, because the H2 has two molding patterns. So no circles here, and also circles also are shaped differently, if you can notice the other circles. But anyway, as of rarity, of course, as I said before, these two are the rarest one. Then maybe this one, but it is not the emerald is not among the rarest colors. Anyway, this one of these three ones are very, very common. Here are the blue memory cards. So NOLETTER 3, released only in the US. S1, released everywhere except the US. S2, same with S2. The R, not rare at all and released everywhere. The H1, uncommon, but not among the rarest of the H1 category. But this one, the H1, is very, very, very hard to find without a severe degree of yellowing. So I was lucky to find this one, but even this one seems to be not in a perfect yellowing condition, but maybe it's the specificity of the H1 memory card. And there is of course the H2 memory card, this one a very late model, like some of the ones released in Japan. They appeared in 2001 and onwards, but they kept producing them until 2004. I think it's only in Japan, not in the Western markets. Anyway, as of rarity, of course, this one is by far the rarest one. Here, it is not at all in a perfect state, but fortunately the long shell here make it appear like a more darker than it is really. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, at this angle it appears it has a decent degree of yellowing, but trust me, it is not mint at all. If I disassemble the shell and all and see only the shell without the PCB, but it doesn't really appear here. So all is good. As of rarity, I said this one is the rarest one. Then none of the others are really rare, but I think maybe this one. But even this one is not the rarest among the H1 category that is usually a rare category. Then all the others, maybe this one is among the others. If we can degree here, maybe this one also, the S2, seems less common than the others. But the 3 one, especially these two, are everywhere. Here are the lemon yellow ones, a color that is different from see-through yellow that was only released in Japan, as a reminder. So here is the rarest among them, the most precious among them by far, which is the lemon yellow of the only released in the US, which is the lemon yellow of the NOLETTER 3 category. With the long bolt 3. Here's the S1. Here's the S2. And there is the R. This is also relatively rare to find. This is hard to find. You will have more chance to find it in the European markets. Like where is it? Like this one. But this one can be easily found also in Japan, whereas this one, this is not the case with this one. This is the cherry red of the R model. It seems that you can find them more easily in the UK. This one in France and Germany. So here is the cherry red color. They are all in a decent state, but maybe you can notice that this one, the S2 and the H, I purchased a lot of H1 models to have one with the nearly perfect yellowing condition. These ones S2. So here is the rarest of them all by far, which is the NOLETTER 3. This is the S1, S2, R, and H1. Released 7/4 quarter with the very late PCB. Only in the United States, a very late PCB for this type of NOLETTER 3 PCB. Yeah? There's the S1, there's the S2, the S2 tend to keep their color very easily. They to keep well, I mean their color. And this one is really prone to yellowing, and of course this one, because it's the H1, it's really difficult to find any of them in a good yellowing state. Where is it? These two, this one is the rarest. Then I would say this one. Then this one, then these two are not rare at all. They are the most, especially the S2, it seems. The two of the S. So you can here notice maybe slightly less shiny here of the H1 font, the font here. But I kept spare models that are in a slightly less good condition than the S2 and the H1 to match with the others, but anyway, there is no much difference that can be noticed here. Even if this one was a little more yellowed, it is not in perfect state, of course. I had to remove its yellowing with the process of the oxidizing agent, but it is not really noticeable because of the long shell, the long PCB inside the shell that makes the edges here darker than the reality of the state of the shell. So let's compare with the H, the orange color. Here, maybe it's hard to distinguish between the two, as I see here with this camera, but I will afterwards make a little processing of the sequence here to add more contrast to distinguish between the different colors. Here are the white models. I tried to do my best to remove the yellowing, so all of them is in a decent state, with many sessions of the yellowing remade. Anyway, you can notice here with the darker color of the font here that seems to be the case with all the NOLETTER 3. So here is the rarest among them, with a special glossy sticker here, font. I think all the white ones produced in 7.4 have the glossy sticker here with the glossy font. This is the one released only in the US with the NOLETTER 3, so this is the rarest model among them. Here's the S1. You can notice here the glossy sticker, but I think, yes, I don't know, it's exactly the same. Here's the S2, and here is the H. They are all relatively rare as a color, but none of them are amongst the rarest ones. Maybe this one can be considered among the rarest, but I don't think so. This is the white with NOLETTER. This one also is relatively. Then the second rarest one is this one with the H. This is rare, like all the H1 memory cards of the H1 category. And these two are the least rare, the S models. S1 is the most common, I think. Yes, with the quarter 7491. Here is the black color. A color that is not really rare. There is no rare model among them. I think the H, they don't tend to yellow Also, this is the color that is the least prone to yellowing, with this one, with the opaque red. So here is the S1, here's the S2, here is the R, and here is the H. The H and the S2 are the rarest model among this category, but not among the rarest memory cards overall. You can see here that the ones with no letter were not released in this color. Here is the smoke gray category. It seems they were not released for the US market, and they were not released with the long boards, with the NOLETTER 3, for example. So here is the S1. It seems also that they were released after the others, and they were not released in the 7/4 quarters like the others. So it seems they were released from the 8/1 quarter and onwards. So here's the S2. Here's the R, a relatively rare model, and here is a very rare model, but not among the rarest one, but maybe it's among the rarest one, but I think this one is the rarest among them, but this one is also very rare. It's also rare. The one of the R category, and here is the one of the H1. There is also another one. I have a spare one with the 8.3 here and the Japanese sticker, but this one is slightly less yellowed, so I kept it here. But the problem is that there is inconsistency maybe here in the colors, because this one seems and the others seem more yellowed than this one. Anyway, you can distinguish here clearly the difference in the font of colors. So with the duller fonts here, the R and the H have duller fonts than the others, but this has a thick font and this has a thinner font, like all the H1 memory cards. This has also the square, the circles patterns here. Instead of the standard pattern for the front shells of the R memory cards. Here's the red memory card, opaque red, released only in the US it seems. It is in common but not rare, because it was released later than the other colors. It seems only in this quarter 8.2 and only with the R PCB. The color here of the logo font seems like it's like a beige or golden color, a slight gold tone than instead of a pure shiny silver color, it seems. But it is just maybe the angle or the background color that makes it appear like that. I don't know. Here are the light gray models, the ones matching with the color of the PS1 Slim. Of course, like all the models released in the PS1 era, meaning from the, no, not really from the 01 quarter 0001, because the black, emerald and island blue of the R model were also produced in this quarter, from the 8.1 until the 0001, the first quarter of 2000 of the 2000 year, but they were not released specifically for the PS1 Slim. Whereas the ones that have this color, the light gray, were specifically released with the PS1 Slim console with the silver screw, and Also, of course, with the specific code here for the light gray, 41 here and 51 here, for 41 for the Western stickers and 51 for the Japanese stickers. So you can see here. Also, these ones also were they yellowed. So here is the S1 model. They can be found in the European, in the Japanese market from the 0001, but I kept this one 0003 because this quarter is also the first one in which they were released for the Western markets. Here is the S3, which is a slight revision of the S2, very similar, but since it is not structured as the S2 in small details and a piece of electronic inside, so I considered a category on itself. So here's the S2. It seems they were produced very late, but I don't know the debut quarter. The only way to find them, I think, to be sure to find an S3 one inside the shell, is to aim for 2002 and onward quarters. Here is the H. No, this is the R, released only in Japan. This is the rarest among them, by far. Unless this one is also rare, but I don't know. Anyway, this is the R model, released only in this quarter. And I think that's why it is rare. 0001, and of course only then for the for the Japanese market, because the light gray appeared from the 0003 quarter and onwards for the Western markets. And here is the H model. It is also relatively rare. It is significantly rarer than the S1, at least. The S2. The S2 is maybe the most common among the collection. The most common model. It is not they are very, very, very prone to yellowing. This color, light gray. As a reminder, once again, this is not the same as the grayish white, released only in Japan. It has a more bluish tone in the color. There's the slate gray, which is a more bluish color than the smoke gray, released in the PS1 era, of course with an H2 model, because the H2 memory cards made all the color variants of the PS1 era from 2001 and onwards. Before 2001, meaning in the 2002, they were only the light gray. So here is it. There's a late model released in, no, it is not really late model. And here is the crimson red, also with the H2, of course. As I said earlier, it may be the same memory, the same color than this one, because these two were yellowed. I removed the yellowing, but there is still a slight difference between them. So maybe, anyway, it was marketed, maybe it's the same color, but anyway, it was marketed with another name and another code. But this is not really an indicator, I know, but let's consider it another color. Crimson red. So here is the chart for the Japanese stickers. We have a first chart that have, of course, the quarter code in the far left, then it's followed by this number, which represent the code of the product code of the Japanese memory cards, which is different for some reason than different from the code of the Japanese stickers. Anyway, here there is a dash, then there are two numbers here, like you see here. I don't know if we can see it here. Yes, like this 11, for example. There are two numbers, and this number represent, of course, the corresponds to the quarter of production. So the first one is the 44, and so until the 72, which has the quarter code 11. Then there is this code chart that appeared from the 72 with the appearance of the first color variants. So this one concerns only gray memory cards. So with the first color variants, there is the appearance of the color variant here. And the batch code here was replaced here between brackets. The batch code that corresponds to the quarter of production. Here, so there is the first variant code, but all the models have this variant code, meaning the gray and all the promotional models are released with the special codes SCPH from 1190 until 1194, and also the how do we call it, the silver model, the 10 million cells models also have this code, this variant code. Then it was replaced in the quarter 73 by this chart. This is a very rare chart. No, this is not a very rare chart. Only the gray model of this sticker are rare. Anyway, I think I have here a proof, visual proof. So here is a Japanese model with this sticker. Where is it? It has the 02 codes of the gray color, whereas the others that are released with this quarter have the 21. The only two other memory cards released with this sticker seems to be the see-through yellow and grayish white. They have the 31, which is the code that was kept for the next sticker, next code chart of the sticker. Here, it was kept for all the color variants from the 7.4 and onwards. So for the see-through yellow, this is the grayish white, but I don't know if it was released in the 7.4 quarter, so that's why I add that question mark. Anyway, here is the candy orange, emerald, lemon yellow, white, cherry red, all the other color variants anyway. The crystal colored memory cards have the C here. The 7.4 is the quarter in which they basically appeared most of the color variants. So the crystal have the 21, and the HE, this only concerns the light gray colored memory cards that came in the year 2000. But it doesn't, the code chart doesn't change here from the 7.4 until the 4.3, the last known quarter that I know here. There are also font variations, main font variations I spotted. The main font 1 was used in this first sticker, whereas only the main font 2 was used in the other stickers. Here's the main font 1. It has more roundish characters, and this here, this specific character here, I don't know Japanese, but here is it, and more roundish numbers here, whereas the main font 2, you can see here that they are more squarish here, the numbers, and the previous character was replaced with this one that is like open at the top. No, this is the first one. Here is the second one, there is open, among other small difference maybe. And there are also, I add the note here, there are also main fonts below it. Yes, within the main font 2, there are variations of characters, boldness and size specific to some color variants. Like for example, it's like you can see here with, for example, when you compare the 15 character, this one with this one. So within the main font 2, they changed it. Yeah, this is. Here's another example with the same sticker. Here. You can see the difference here. And also, there is also a difference in boldness, because the translucent memory cards in their stickers, they have a less bold characters here. If you don't take into account the very first color variants produced in '97, of course. And there are also other specific variations, but I didn't really investigate in it. Maybe if I found something consistent, I will provide it in the description also. So here is the chart of stickers for Western stickers. So the four first quarters that appear always at the left are the quarter code here, these quarter codes here. But the first quarter code that appeared with the Western sticker is the quarter code 53. So with the first sticker, appareil, it has this feature, appareil mistakenly spelled apparel. I will show a picture here. Here's the very first one released with the sticker. You can see here is, instead of an IL, there is an LL here. So this is the error. Here we can see that, so here is the product code. It is different in the Japanese sticker for some reason. Anyway, this 01 refers to this quarter because it's the quarter in which the PS1 console was launched in the American market, I think, in a Western market. So this character after the last dash here refers to these characters counting, meaning counting from the first quarter. Here it's 5-3, so 5-4 has the 2, and so on until the 8-1. And there are also two other stickers that coexisted. So from the 7-3 quarter, they began to release. Here is the last one with the first sticker. We will now see the second sticker. It appeared in the 7-3 with the three colors only: crystal, see-through red, and see-through green, and they all have this color variant 11. This is the appearance of the color variants for Western sticker. And here the batch code that refers to this quarter code here refers now to the Japanese, here the quarter of production, meaning it counts from the 4-4. Meaning a memory card that have the 7-3 has, of course, a 12 instead of a 9 here as a batch code. between brackets. So here, the gray memory cards of this type of sticker, it has appareil numérique spelled correctly. It's the only sticker that has these two words spelled correctly. By the way, here is it. Appareil numérique spelled correctly. That is the main feature, among other features, of course. But here you can see gray memory cards with this sticker were not released in the 7.75, but here in the 7.4 they were released with the code, the variant codes 01. And the color variants have the 21, all the color variants. All the color variants besides crystal, see-through red and see-through green, which are the very first color variants released in the Western markets for the winter season or Christmas or so in the 7.75. Anyway, here they all have the 21. So the concerned color variants are the candy orange, emerald, lemon yellow, white, cherry red, island blue and black. But the candy orange appeared in the 7.3, so of course there is a 7.3 that has the 21 color variant here. And 13 of course refers to this one, counting from the 4.4. 4.4 is one and this one is the 13th. This is the quarter of production, counting from the first quarter of production, the first Japanese quarter of production. Here is one of the third sticker. This is one of the third sticker, the first one. Here I cannot zoom, so I will. Anyway, here it has numeric mistakenly spelled here without an U between the Q and the E. It appears from the 8.1 until the early 8.3. Then from the late 8.3 they replaced it again. Anyway, here they changed the chart of the variant codes. These stickers have, for the gray color, they used 02 instead of 01. They kept here the code of the Christmas color only for the crystal color and the silver color for the European, the silver color, 10 million cells color. All the other color variants got the code 22. Then we will see it here. Yes, West. Where is it? Here you can see this is the first one, the first quarter, 02. There is one of the quarter 82, 22, so it's a color variant, 22. There are also, of course, the crystal color that have the 12. There is the last quarter with this sticker, 02. Then it was replaced in the late 8.3. You can see here the same model of memory cards, but that has the 8.3, which has another chart of codes. It has the same spelling error here, but it has the new norm of security, the new norm here of electronics, N1158. Here, with this sticker, that was the last chart code. The gray color have the 3, crystal 13, all the color variants 23, and the HE. The HE is the memory card of the PS1 era that has the 41. So here is pictures of a model that I didn't collect, which is the Netya Rosy access card. Netya Rosy is a special console that allows to develop basic own games. You can look it up you can search for it in the internet. Anyway, this is not really a memory card. This is an access card. It is a dongle here, like in a site. that locks the use of boot Natia Rosy CD access card. It is an access card. It is a dongle that allows, it seems, booting a CD of the Natia Rosy. Here is it. Here is its back. It is clearly a black shell of the NOLETTER of the NOLETTER shells. They were not released for normal memory cards, but it seems they used this color of shell for the Natia Rosy here. And you can clearly see in this picture that it is not really a memory card, so it cannot be part of my collection here. So I didn't bother to collect it. You can clearly see that the memory flash chip is removed, whereas here is the controller chip. You can clearly see they used here for this one a NOLETTER 2 PCB here. This one, a NOLETTER 2, in which they removed the memory flash chip Atmel here, this chip. So here is a memory card that could have been part of the collection, 73rd model. You can see here with a specific color here, this specific blue color, opaque blue, photo taken of course from the site Strifa PS6. This memory card was not released for the public, so it cannot really be part of the 72 collection. Anyway, it's really hard to find, so this argument can be used to not collect it. Anyway, you can see it here, its color, and you can clearly see that it has the NOLETTER shell here. NOLETTER here just above, made in Japan. Anyway, this was released with the debugging console, the very early ones, very early Japanese debugging consoles that have the blue color. Like you can see, there is the only other picture I found here of a Japanese listing, I think. You can clearly see that these are the two controllers. They are less rare than this memory card, but here, this console here was launched, debugging console here, provide dating for developers. So this is just a console that reads every region and burned disks. This doesn't allow to develop games like the Natia Rosy, I think. But anyway, it has the colors that matches with the console here in the controllers and also the memory cards. But only the early models seems to have been bundled with the memory cards, and all the others, I think, have a normal memory cards or no memory cards also. Anyway, this is a very rare model, but it wasn't available for the public. And I don't own it, of course. So this is not part of the collection.